Welcome to the Bungo Pony Podcast with Brian Watson and Jim Griffin.
It's the Bungo Pony Podcast. Hello, Jim.
Hello, Brian.
I am Brian Watson.
I'm Jim Griffin.
And we're back. We're still here.
We're still here. I can't believe it.
Still afloat. I keep reminding myself to say welcome, ladies, fish and gentlemen, and I always forget, but I've just done it now.
You did it. You just did it. Well done. Well done. I see what you did there.
Never let it be said that the Bungo Pony doesn't embrace diversity.
It's about as diverse as it gets. Yeah.
Ladies, gents, fish, you name it.
Fish, all welcome. All very welcome. Yeah.
Come one, come all.
Yeah, if you're wearing a long tail suit, spangles, we don't mind. Yeah.
Except groupers. I don't like those. They're ugly, ugly looking fish. So, yes, it's the Bucks Dhozen, spelt with a H. See what I did there?
Very clever. Very clever.
I was quite pleased with myself when I came up with that one, I have to say. Bucks Dhozen, yes. The clues in the question, the clues in the title. We've chosen 6 each of Buck Dharma moments, not songs, not solos, but just moments. It could just be a little guitar phrase. It's not a definitive list. I think it's fair to say we could probably do about 5 of these pods and never duplicate a tune.
I think you're right, but I think just focusing on Buck Dharma, you know, he's probably the most central figure to Blue Oyster Cult fans. And I like what we've done here. We just chose 6 each, as you say, Brian, of Buck moments, whether they're tunes or lyrics or some incredible licks. And everything, we were talking just before we kicked off the pod, everything post Agents of Fortune. So, you were saying, and I agreed with you, that the first 3 albums and Agents and On Your Feet are kind of untouchable in terms of, obviously, if you want to hear Buck Dharma wailing on the guitar, listen to Secret Treaties. It's one of the best guitar albums ever made. But we're trying to delve a little deeper past maybe the casual stuff. And as you say, just pinpoint some really... And, I really enjoy doing this, Brian, because I spent some time picking out the list and just finding those moments, because Buck he sprinkles magic dust on tunes. He really does. And I really enjoy picking these tracks.
I mean, I just enjoy suckling at Blue Oyster Cult's talented teats on a regular basis.
With Blue Oyster Cult's talented teats fill my days and nights. Yeah,
I think what spurred me on to do this was snagging that vinyl haul and listening to Blue Oyster Cult again. And I thought I'd really like to talk bobbins with Jim on a semi-regular basis, because we had done some other bits and pieces for Progzilla, hadn't we?
We had, yeah. Well, we done a few bits on my own stuff, and then we discovered our mutual love of BOC. But you know what? You've said it exactly there, Brian. Is like you and I, and I'm sure a lot of people who listen to the pod have listened to Blue Oyster Cult all our lives. And like any band that you listen to that regularly, you almost reach a point where you forget to listen to them. You think you know the stuff so well, but actually. And I hope this list triggers a few people to go back and listen. When I went back and listened to some of these tracks, I went, wow, I'd actually forgotten, that guitar break. I'd forgotten that lyric. Because you think you remember it all, but you don't. So it's great to revisit some of this stuff. It's really so high quality.
I mean, most of my Blue Oyster Cult listening was on rubbish equipment. I mean, the cheapest record player with the crappiest needle and the tinniest speakers. And I used to walk everywhere. I had an American Army knapsack that I used to carry a sharp tape recorder in. And I made compilation tapes, and so no headphones, no Bluetooth. So I'd just walk to school with this boogie box. Our American listeners, I guess, a boom box would recognise. Just the one speaker, because it'd fit in the knapsack, as loud as the volume would possibly go. So if you were within 100 yards of me, you would listen to Blue Oyster Cult. I guess I was one of the first antisocial behaviour kids. That
yeah. You
I think
if
they'd have had Asbos in the 80s,
Club Ninja in public, yeah.
If they'd have had Asbos in the 80s, I'd have had one. But now that I've got a few, Bob, and you can listen to it on good equipment, and you've got sort of decent headphones and amplifiers and things, I'm discovering stuff that I've never, ever heard without an H.
Yeah. Look, absolutely. And I mean, you can, all that stuff that's sometimes buried in those early Sandy Pearlman mixes on purpose. I mean, it's the way he wanted it. But, you know, particularly the Alan Lanier stuff, the Joe's bass, you know, on the better quality equipment, better quality, you know, CDs and things, you're hearing stuff that you weren't hearing in the 70s and 80s. I mean, I'm like you, Brian. I used to listen to Blue Oyster Cult tapes on my Walkman. But with those, you could buy these external speakers. They were the absolute worst little plastic speakers, and you plug them into the headphone jack. I used to listen on those. So, I mean, it was literally top end only that I was hearing. But it's great. Yeah, it's really good to revisit these with a decent deck or a decent pair of headphones. And you are hearing stuff for the first time. And it's quite the adventure. And it's nostalgic, which is, you know.
And it's fun. And it's fun doing it with a fellow aficionado as well.
A fellow cultophile. Yeah, well, you have to find a similarly obsessed fan, or you just sound crazy talking about it on your own to people who don't care.
Big shout out to everybody who's embraced the pod and helped us out on Ko-Fi, I think it is. Will, thank you ever so much. Much appreciated. Gerard, also. So if you want to buy us a coffee, I think I've got the thing here. If you want to tip us a coffee, you can go to ko-fi.com/bungo_pony. Ko-fi is ko-fi.com/bungo_pony. And we will buy each other a coffee. I'll have a latte.
Oh,
with full fat milk.
Oh, you maniac. But no, you know, thanks that people are listening, which is very gratifying and surprising. So,
I'm out of control.
He's had 3 lattes already, folks, and he's going crazy. Stop buying him coffee.
With an extra shot. We were speaking off air about one of the main reasons why we love Blue Oyster Cult, and I'd read a quote that every album you never knew what you were going to get, and also you didn't know what you were going to get from song to song. And I think our choice has demonstrated that in spades, or clubs, or arts, or diamonds, because you just look at the people who wrote the songs that we've chosen. I don't know if you've had a look.
Yeah, I have. It's really interesting. You know, this mix of writers. Absolutely. It just highlights how, and do you know what? And I know people look, and we've said this before, the first 3 albums, the black and white albums, are the classic BOC albums. But, you know, there's a strength in the later catalogue because of its variety. And yeah, okay, I admit it doesn't always hit the spot. And, you know, there are tracks like Beat 'Em Up and Rock Not War in there. But you know what? Every band, you have to take that chance if you want to have a deeper, more varied catalogue. And I think this particular list that we have that's available on Spotify, we'll share the link with the pod. I think it highlights the later catalogue and some of the real quality that's in there. And you never quite knew between about 78 and, I suppose 2022, quite what you were going to get from a VOC album. And there's a lot to like about that.
I mean, it's not a definitive list in any way, shape or form. We don't do best ofs. We don't say that we know more than anybody else. We're far from it. What I've loved about the community who've engaged with us on our social medias, as I believe the young people say, is a lot of our choices kind of have resonated with what other people have sort of offered up as suggestions. But there's no judgment. There's nobody saying, oh, no, you're... And I have been on some forums in the past, and I won't name them, prog ears, where the people are horrible. I once did a post about Humphreys McGee,